Guys, I'm Tasha from travelandtash.com. How much does it cost to live as an expat in South Korea as an English teacher? Many of you are looking to move to South Korea and teach English as an alternative job, an experience that you can enjoy for a year. And so in this video I'm going to tell you a brief breakdown of expenses that I have versus cost of living and salary, to give you an idea of how much you can save approximately. So here are a few things that I'm going to talk about. First of all, as an English teacher, your salary is probably going to be in the ballpark of 2,200,000 won or more. Personally, I would not accept a job that paid any less than 2,200,000, which is approximately about 2,200 per month. And in addition to that, your accommodation should be covered. That does not affect your salary. You earn that. It's completely separate from the fact that your employer is covering your accommodation. Sometimes your accommodation comes partly furnished. Mine was very scarcely furnished when I first moved in. I had a bed, I had a fridge, a stove, and that was more or less it, whereas my colleague, she had a microwave, and she had I think she had pots and pans and basics like that in her kitchen. And even though we worked for the same school, her apartment just happened to come a lot more furnished than my one was. So there may likely be initial expenses that you will have to pay for when you first arrive. So bills are not included. So say for example, if you end up getting an apartment in a location like an office town, which is a more modern, usually a taller apartment, you're probably going to pay an office-tel fee, a management fee for maintaining the office-tel or that apartment block. I currently live in a villa apartment and I don't have to pay that fee. But there again, my apartment is older. It was probably built in the 1970s and definitely more run down. I think one of the biggest things here is that oftentimes, I think it's possibly due to the humidity here in the air, is that mold is a constant battle trying to fight against black mold, whether you're in an office tower or whether you're in an old building. And for me, that's definitely a challenge. Bills include, so the office tower fee may be applicable to you depending on where you end up living. Usually it's a small, like a bachelor style one-room apartment, which entails your kitchen, your bed and your living room all in one place with, a bathroom off to the side. And usually it tends to include a washing machine. Dryers seem to be non-existent out here. There's not too many people that have a dryer, and particularly not teachers that live in these kind of living conditions where you essentially rent out a one-bedroom bachelor. So your bills are going to include things like your phone or your Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi costs about 33,000 won or $33 per month. And then also water, gas and electric. And for me, in total, that all comes to about just under 100,000 won or $100 per month. I'm rounding this off very liberally, by the way. So in addition to that, food, let's talk about food. I spend about 50,000 won or $50 per week on food. And that usually is for the week. On the weekends, I seem to eat out more. I tend to do a lot of cooking at home, and as a result, that does reduce how much I spend overall per week. I like cooking, but kitchens here are pretty small, at least if you are living in an office tel or a villa apartment. And I find that fruit and veg here is more expensive, and also Western foods like particularly dairy, cheeses, and also things like salamis and sandwich meats and things like that. Stuff that, let's say, is more Mediterranean is definitely more expensive here, and it's probably because a lot of it is imported. So additionally, clothing, usually teachers get a chance to bring about 2 suitcases out here, and for me that ended up being more or less 1 suitcase for winter stuff and 1 suitcase for summer stuff. Generally speaking here, clothing fits sizes of people that are skinny and people that do not have big feet. And so that's just because, generally speaking, a lot of Korean ladies happen to be slim. There's a big emphasis here on being slim. And so as a result, many of my friends that are a size 12, British size 12 or 14, find it really, really hard to find clothing here. And also, I think Europeans and North Americans just generally have bigger feet than Korean people, and so a lot of people do struggle to find shoes. I'm very lucky because I happen to have small feet and I happen to be thin, but a lot of people are not those dimensions, and so a lot of people end up having to go shopping when they go back home, and then returning here with suitable clothing and shoes. So Saturday nights, I tend to spend money on going out for coffee, going out for dinner. Usually I'll go out. My style tends to be I'll go out on a Saturday afternoon, evening. Coffees here are quite expensive. Like a coffee here will set you back about $5, which is pretty much double the price of what you'd pay in Europe or North America. For some reason, I don't know. I guess it seems to be something exotic or something posh, or I don't know what. But the coffee experience is definitely more expensive here. So you'll spend more on coffee if you're a coffee drinker or a tea drinker. Tea even if it's just in a tea bag, tea bag and steeped water. That will be around the same price. So on a weekend, I easily go through, let's say, between $30 to $50 at least. And I think that, lastly, what you spend a lot of money on really depends on your hobbies. So my hobbies tend to be traveling. I will spend a lot of my disposable income on traveling to other locations, particularly in Asia. I really love going to the Philippines. And as a result, a lot of my money ends up going on air flights, which actually are cheaper flying out from Korea because you're already within Asia. I don't drink much alcohol. Alcohol here tends to be around 4,000 won, 5,000 won for a glass of beer. Also depending on where you're drinking. Some craft beers are around 7,000 won or $7. And then I also spend money on things like skincare. I really like Korean skincare, so I'll splurge on face cream, makeup, all of that kind of thing. Also on things like publishing my books, the business that I'm building right now. And I also need to spend some money on things like my website design and things like that. But a lot of expats here tend to go on extended trips, like over the weekend, and they'll join groups like Seoul Hiking and CIK hiking trips that will cost anywhere from around $30 to potentially $300, depending on what they do. So, and then, if you drink a lot, if you go out partying a lot, that's going to be, I guess, one of your larger expenses. So depending on what your hobbies are, that obviously affects, how much money you end up saving. But overall, I would say that considering salary and cost of living, overall, it's quite realistic to say that an expat that's working here as a teacher can probably save around $1,000 per month fairly easily. It's because the cost of living is really quite low. Transportation costs are pretty low. Like to take the train is under $1.50 each way, and same with the bus. And yeah, I think that cost of living itself is the main factor why it's so easy to save money here, living as an English teacher, an expat living and working here, particularly in Seoul. Anyway, I hope you found this video valuable. Give it a thumbs up if you found some value in it, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more. Check out my website travelnatash.com. I release articles including my adventures through Europe, my adventures through Asia, and also what I get up to here in Korea. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.